So I started this week by polishing up the rest of the small parts and the screws, getting them ready for bluing. And now I'm going to move on to doing some engraving. Like the stocking safeties, I need to cut some either lines or checkering or some sort of grip surface in them. One of the things I wanted to show you here, if you are building for yourself, you've never done this before, when you get down to this stage and you're disassembling everything and you need to keep track of where everything goes, make a storyboard like this that labels every screw and every part, and it'll be easy to keep track of and put everything back together for the right place that it comes from. So little quick shop tip there that just make a little storyboard and keep track of where everything goes and the placement and everything. So with the engraving finally finished, got the caliber and my maker's mark done and finished up texturing the stocking safeties. So that's the end of the engraving. It's time to start doing some rust bluing. Some basic things you need to do, some materials and things that you need for rust bluing. Some type of cleaner to get all the oils off the barrel. Acetone, some guys use brake degreaser. Lots of ways to do it. They even sell Brownells and whatnot, sell some commercial products for degreasing. So a lot of different things work. Acetone's just convenient because I keep it around my shop for other things, so it works good. Rubber gloves, clean rags. You'll need a carding wheel, and then you'll need rust bluing solution. I happen to like Pilkington's Classic American Rust Blue, and it works good, but if you want it to work really good, Laurel Mountain Forge sells barrel brown and degreaser, and you take a cap full of the Laurel Mountain Forge and pour it into a bottle full of American Rust Blue Pilkingtons, and it gives you a real nice streak-free finish that way. Works really good, doesn't bead up like the Pilkingtons will tend to do. A lot of guys, when they apply rust bluing, they use like clothespins and little strips of cloth. I've found that the best way to get a nice, even, smooth application on there is a very soft, bristled toothbrush. Works really good. And then you'll need a carding wheel. This one's for one of Brownell's stainless steel carding wheels. I use a hand drill to power it, variable speed, so I can run it really slow speed. And then the other type of bluing I'm going to do is for some of these screws, they're going to get what's called niter blued. It's a salt bath that brings them up to a real nice temperature, between 600 and 650 degrees, turns them a real pretty blue, and it's a pretty durable finish. So that's the other method I'll use. But the way this is done, you can see I've got the barrel. In this case, this barrel is really heavy, so I've got it supported between my vise and a block over here, and I've got a dowel running through it. And this will make it really easy to work on, because I'll be able to just pick it up and turn it over and get it in any position I need to apply the finish properly. So a real simple way to do this, since this barrel weighs so much. This is a good way to work it back and forth. Lighter weight barrels, I can usually just hang them up, hang them through like the swivel, or hang them through, if it's a muzzle loader barrel, hang them through one of the ramrod pipes. So works real good, but in this case this barrel's real heavy, and so I decided to find a way to support it so that I could work it real easy without any problems. So the first step in this is to take the acetone and clean this up really good. Obviously it's sanded to its proper finish, and then I've had to do some engraving on it, so I've touched the bare metal, and so there's some spots on here that have my oils off of my fingers. Particularly, you can probably see this one. This one's a real good one right here. Maybe you can see it, I don't know. The light might not reflect it very well, but the oils from your fingers will ruin a bluing job. And so this has to be cleaned up really good, completely degreased so that there's no oils on it. And then once it's clean, once these metal parts are all cleaned up, you can't touch them with your bare hands because you'll just deposit new oil on them. So that's where the rubber gloves come in. I put a new pair on every time I go to apply a new coat of rust blue onto it. And so that's what I'm going to do, is clean this up, get it all completely degreased. Then I'll apply a coat of American Rust Blue, Pilkington's Rust Blue, on it. There's different ways to get a different type of finish. In this particular case, this gun's going to get a rust blue finish. There's ways to do an English finish where it's got a lot of brown and gold undertones on it. It's just a matter of using different sets of chemicals. R.E. Davis, Pilkington's, Laurel Mountain Forge, and then Mark Lee makes Express Blue. And so using different coats, different layers, different processes, you can develop different colors of rust blue and get different undertones in them. So but in this case, this one's going to be a pretty straightforward, just a straight blue job. One thing you can't do with double rifles, because the solders are all low temperature, they're they're mostly low temperature solders. They're all 475 degrees basically. Even the high temp high force isn't that hot. And when you get into a hot bluing tank, all of the temperatures in a hot bluing tank typically go well above the temperatures of your solder. So you can't hot blue these because it'll separate the solder and everything falls apart in a hot bluing tank. So basically, rust bluing is basically the only way to go with double rifles. It just doesn't work any other way, basically. And it's a very classic finish. You really can't ask for a better finish than rust bluing. It penetrates really well, gets really deep, and looks really good if you do it right. So I will get this cleaned up, and I'll apply a coat and let it start rusting. In the meantime, while it's rusting, I will probably start working on the checkering on the stock, because I think my stock is finally hardened up and the finish is dry on it, and I think I've got enough coats on there to get busy on checkering it. So I'll be doing both at the same time, basically, because it's just a matter of applying a coat of bluing solution, letting it rust for a while, and that depends on humidity and temperature. We've had some rain here lately, so this should start to rust fairly quickly. And then carding it off and recoating it, and carding it off and recoating it. And you just keep building it up until you get the desired finish you're looking for, and then it gets boiled in water to turn it black. So that is the other piece of equipment you need. You need a tank and a set of burners that is long enough to do the parts, particularly the barrels. So I'll show you some more as I get farther along. You can see it's only been about 15 minutes. It's already starting to rust up really nice. I give it about a couple hours in this humidity, then I'll come back, card it off, and recoat it. I can do this, several coats a day. Might even be able to get this done by tomorrow. Have it blued. Depends on how the humidity works and how it takes the solution. So moving along pretty good. So I'm about 6 coats of rust into it. I need probably 3 or 4 more, and then it'll be ready to blue. But it's just a matter of continuing to card it and apply a new coat and rust it some more. It's getting real close though. As you can see, I've got the checkering done on the forearm piece. It looks pretty decent. And what I did was I applied another coat of finish, a little bit of stain, and restained the part that I cut through the finish and stain on, and then more finish to cover it and seal it up. So it's hanging over here above my heater again, drying the finish on it. But that's pretty much it for the checkering. It's a little hard to see, hard to get the light on it good to where you can see the pattern, but anyways. So this end's done and dry. I've got the outline and primary lines cut for the buttstock piece, and started working on it. And that's it for this week. So I'll get that checkering done up probably by the end of next week, and hopefully the rust bluing will be done by the end of next week, and I'll be ready to do reassembly and final testing on this thing to make sure everything's functional and everything went back together properly.